going anywhere.
Yeah.
And the buildings were really, really well constructed. And so after they did the tear out of the interior walls up to 8 feet and took out all the insulation and all that, you know, they put it back together. And we're still working at the time that we're speaking here on getting some of the interior work done, makeup tables, that kind of stuff still needs to happen in the next week and a half.
But there's all new electrical, all new plumbing.
All new seats.
Yeah, all new seats.
So, you know,
all new name tags on those seats.
Yeah, the city has been extraordinary in their response. They haven't wavered in their commitment. They've invested extraordinary amounts of time, labor, and money from their own insurance as well as FEMA. Thank you. To restore it, and it's coming back, and it's going to be better than ever.
When you sit out there, you will be able to see the watermark on the buildings where the flood waters rose to, which is pretty sobering.
Yeah, they're power scrubbed and power scrubbed, but still that watermark is there, and we've just sort of said, that's history. We can be there.
Oh, it gives me shivers. I mean,
yeah.
I remember standing on the water's edge along Dubuque Street and looking out and seeing the water lap up there and think, oh, will it come back? Will it come back?
But it's those times that you really do find out what your community is, you know, and people rallied to our support and the support of so many organizations. Our own actors, most of this company doesn't live here, you know. They might come for several years in a row from New York or Chicago, but they don't live here. But they would go and sandbag on their day off, you know. People responded to the emergency. The school district housed our festival as well as Summer Rep in their auditorium. But it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, everybody rose to the occasion and said, we're going to salvage, we're going to save what is precious in our community. So that was nothing short of inspiring.
Well, yeah, I mean, your Riverside Theater is a major part of this community. The landscape has changed down in that park. I had moved away and came back and saw the theater there, and I'd heard rumors of it, you know, that this was going to happen, and the fact that it survived the flood and is back better than ever is it's who we are now.
Yeah.
Well, there was some talk at that time, you know, of cutting the festival off and just sending people home early, and we were just determined. We said, no, we've made contracts, we've made promises, and we're going to honor that. And the fundraising effort afterwards, we raised over $60,000 in, I don't know, what, a couple months with a national outreach. We were getting checks from other theater companies that we didn't even know, but they'd heard about it. And one intern at a little theater in Indiana went around and collected money because she was so moved by the story. So that kind of stuff, that fires you up, that keeps you going.
I want to talk to you guys about how you go about choosing the plays that you stage, because you've done some really interesting plays over the years. I've seen quite a few of them. I think my favorite up to this point was Death of a Salesman. I just wept my eyes out and was incredibly moved by it. And the Black Box Theater, it always changes in such a big way, and I wonder, in choosing the plays for this space, how your team of people, your stage builders and your costumers, and how much input does everybody have in this process of choosing the play, or is it really you two that kind of pick it out?
Well, I think the buck stops here, but we really do reach out to a number of our artistic associates, other directors, actors, designers, to say, what are you reading, what have you seen, let's put a master list together. Patrons send us ideas. Oh my God, I was just in New York, I saw something that was perfect for Riverside Theater. And we take all of those ideas and then we just read. And you know it when you read it. There's just something that happens when you read it and you realize, oh, I'm excited, this is something that I really want to bring to our audiences. It starts with, I think, great roles for company members. Certainly a simplicity of design and world of the play that we feel we can execute well here. Does it speak to our audience? Do we feel it has something to say that people are going to respond to? So lots of different criteria, and then a really eclectic mix of the classics and brand new plays. I mean, this year, for example, we produced 3 world premieres, which is very unusual in terms of our balance for the Gilbert Street season. But we were really thrilled with those opportunities, and they just kind of came along all at once, including a play of Ron's. And we thought that was a risky mix, and yet our box office was really strong this year. People loved that new work. So we, again, have to just take a deep bow to our audience for their openness and willingness to...
They give us permission,
yeah,
you know, to bring new things. One play we're especially excited about this upcoming season, just to contrast, we're doing The Diary of Anne Frank, of course, as a co-production with Cornell College, and that'll be in October. But Jody was driving and heard on NPR on Science Friday, she heard this discussion about a play called End Days, which is an amazing little play. It was just closing in New York at the time she was hearing about it. And they were talking about it on Science Friday because one of the characters in it is Stephen Hawking, who is, of course, in his wheelchair speaking through a computer, but the same actor then doubles as Jesus. And
Oh, of course.
of course. So you have this immediate juxtaposition of faith and science, but also a family that is in distress. And this is a comedy, by the way.
I think it almost has to be, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
a mother who is so...
and The Rapture is coming.
And the rapture is coming.
On Wednesday.
Yes, and this mother is has found Jesus, has sort of found him out in the kitchen because he follows her around her house. And so when she says, well, I did some very good missionary work today, I handed out all these flyers, thank you, Jesus. And Jesus stands there and smiles at her. You know? And nobody else in the family can see him because...
But this is a 5-character play. It sounded just wonderful. I'm trying to drive and write the title on a scrap of paper.
She does this.
And, you know, within a week we'd gotten the script, we'd found out if the rights were available, and put it on the season. So sometimes there's a little bit of serendipity involved too.
Yeah, sometimes. And sometimes you mentioned salesman, you just wait until you're ready, the theater's ready to launch it. And we waited for the 25th anniversary season to make it sort of the centerpiece of that season. And it was a thrill. It was a thrill, and I know we're both anxious to do the roles again. We did them, how old were we? We were 50, in our mid-50s. Never mind. But we'll be older the next time we do it, and I think it'll just bring that much more to it.
We also look at performers' abilities, people that we know and like to work with, because the area, in spite of being a small community, is blessed with, you know, a wealth of professional artists, as you know, and we do keep performers in mind as we're looking at scripts and say, oh, wouldn't somebody be wonderful in this role, and I wonder if we could get them to do this project with us.
And we, for instance, Richard III, we're rehearsing right now. You don't take that play on unless you have a director with a really inspired vision, and equally important, the actor to play Richard. You know, it was Shakespeare's first character-driven drama. Richard is on stage like 75–80% of the time. It's the second largest role, second only to Hamlet. And so Dennis Fox was Richard III, we knew. And if we hadn't had that commitment, we wouldn't have launched the project. Because there are some plays that you got to have the right people.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So it's, you know, as Jody says, you know, some of it's serendipity, but mostly it's just reading and reading and reading scripts.
Can you talk a little bit about the distinction of what it means to be a professional theater? I think people know community theater, anyone can audition, it's an opportunity to, you know, get your skills polished up a little bit, but professional theater.
Yeah, I think that's best described in our mission statement, which begins with this sentence. It is the mission of Riverside Theater to provide an artistic home for theater artists from Iowa and beyond. And then we go on to talk about serving our audiences with intimate performances and so on. And starting then with the belief that this is an art form as well as a business that deserves people who really, and needs people who are really well trained and skilled, then you're talking about a profession. we do hire